And we're live. Welcome to the All Balls No Filter podcast, live from the cabin kitchen. I'm Zach. He's Brad.
Hello there.
And behind the scenes, we have a man who always checks the terms and conditions before he actually accepts them. It's researcher Carl.
It's researcher Cal. He absolutely reads every word, doesn't he?
That's probably not a lie. That's probably not far-fetched, to be fair. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
What do you mean it's not a lie? Nothing is a lie about researcher Cal.
Sorry, they're all facts. I promise you now, they're all facts that we state about Mr. Research Cal.
Oh God, I just love the guy. Like, I literally love the fact that he climbs the tallest towers in the world just for fun. But it's just It's just the guy he is, isn't it?
That's it. How are you doing today, mate? How are you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm all right. I think I've recovered from the Super Bowl. I say recovered. I was a bit of a halfway man actually this year, which we'll get to. But yeah, I'm all right. I felt it a little bit yesterday for various reasons. But yeah, I'm good. Generally good. How are you?
I mean, on better weekends, I suppose. But other than that, emotionally, I've overcome it. I'm not as tired. I was absolutely shattered yesterday, and I was definitely far too hungover yesterday as well. Did
I see a picture of you? I'm interrupting. Did I see a picture of you asleep?
No. So this has been taken so far out of context, right? Because we're going to use it to he can't speak, but I'm sure Carl took that picture. So what had happened was one of the many we'll get into this, but one of the many New England Patriots mistakes that happened at the weekend. I knocked my hat down, put my head against the wall, and I was sighing. And then he took the picture, and it looks like I've fallen asleep. No, I was really drunk, but I was definitely not asleep on that. And I was wondering, if you ever seen that social, like going across the socials, I definitely weren't asleep on that. But we had a very, very good Super Bowl party other than the game. But we had a very, very good Super Bowl party for the listeners that don't know. Me and Brad are part of an British American football team called Wakefield District Raiders, and we held our Super Bowl party at one of our sponsor pubs, which was an absolute amazing night. And just before we get into the show as such, we raised over £200 for Macmillan charity, which is phenomenal, and credit to everyone that turned up. So I just want to say thank you if you were down, by the way, for that. But yeah, very hungover, and I think I needed it.
You definitely did, mate. It was an absolute well, it's a great night, but a shambles of a night for a Patriots fan. But you know, it was a really good night. Obviously, I wasn't there for the duration for various reasons we won't get into, but the event itself's a cracker. So, thanks to everyone who came down. Thanks to our hosts who've been our hosts for a number of years now, and thanks to the guys and girls that put their hands in the pockets for supporting our sponsors with their ongoing Macmillan fundraising efforts. That's just another one of the many things they do, and another one of the many things that lads support them with. So yeah, thanks to everyone for that. A little plug, I guess, there. But an interesting night generally.
Interesting is a very loose word, you could say. But before we get into it, Brad, what have we got in store on today's show? Do you want to let us know?
Yeah, I mean, surprise. We'll be getting into the biggest game of the NFL season, the Super Bowl. Obviously, that'll be the main focus of tonight, reviewing Sunday night. But we'll also touch on the latest news from the past week, and of course, a return of all other balls for other major stories in the world of sport, and of course, the weekly staple now, Cal's Conundrum. So yeah, a condensed episode in terms of features this week, but we've got quite a lot to chat about and discuss. So shall we just get straight into it?
If we have to, I mean, we can miss out the Super Bowl if you want to. We can get straight to the Carl's Conundrum and call it a day. I'm more than happy to do so.
I'm not sure why you'd want that, really. It surely can't be anything to do with the 29-13 victory to the Seahawks, could it?
Right. Super Bowl 60. Let's just address this, shall we? All right. Weren't the most entertaining Super Bowl for the first three quarters of it. I must admit that from a layman's point of view, and I'm going to touch into this in a little bit from a layman's point of view, and I want to put a disclaimer out there before we get started and before I give some definite Patriots views on this. The better team, 110% won. They were better all around the field. They deserved that win. If we'd have won that game, I'd have 110% felt cheated out of this. Like in that, like they were phenomenal on not every aspect of the ball, but most aspects of the ball, and then they just became perfect towards the end of the game. And what I mean by that is, I don't think I've ever seen a defense as good in the time that I've watched football. From play one of the first quarter to the last play of the fourth quarter, they were unreal. The Patriots could not stop them. They made the offensive line look like high school, and it was concerning to see because we've come up against some good defenses this year, and I will back that. We have an easy schedule, and I don't actually. The easy schedule thing will really bite us at this moment in time because I think any team in the NFL could have played that game and the outcome were going to be very similar regardless to who played because of how good that defense genuinely was. They schooled us across all areas of that field. But yeah, it was tough, mate. It really was. As a Patriots fan going into it, I said to you before, and I said, like, look, I'm really not looking forward to the Super Bowl. You know, as a Patriots fan, you kind of go in there expecting Super Bowls to go kind of your way, and I saw that bad feeling. But talking their defense to begin with, what were your initial views in that first half in particular? Like, what were your initial views of how they came out as that defense?
I thought they were just absolutely dominant, and I think they had a real clear plan to just make Drake May's night a misery. And I know that's obvious, isn't it? Like most people go, all right, let's go get the quarterback, let's make him a misery. But it was really obvious from the get-go that they were just absolutely clinical in everything they did. They knew their roles, they knew the responsibilities. I thought they were very, very good and quite effective at sort of not disguising coverage as such, although they did do that, you know, but just showing enough differences throughout the game that Drake May, and this is not it's not a dig at the guy. He's, you know, it's his second year. I think I'm almost certain he would have been the youngest quarterback to win. I don't know if he's the youngest quarterback to be in a Super Bowl. I'm almost certain he was the youngest one to win it if he'd have won it.
I think he was second behind Dan Marino on that. Yeah, I believe so. Research college should double check on this, but I've got something to do with Dan Marino in there, and youngest and all along the lines of. But go on. Sorry.
I mean, I should know that one, shouldn't I? Really, but like, I just feel that they were just absolutely clinical in everything they did, and I don't think they let up until the fourth quarter. Really, like, you know, Patriots were scoreless until the fourth, and like, if we're honest, and I think you probably agree, I think the scoreline probably flattered the Patriots a little bit. Like, they did have the moments, like, you know, and Drake May had some great plays, and you know, he had a couple of really good scrambles under pressure and a few really nice passes that he completed, but he did also melt down at times as well. And I think it showed his position in terms of his career. It was his second year in the league. I think the Patriots arguably have just outperformed this year their expectations. They've almost been ahead of the curve. Like, no one expected them really to be in the Super Bowl this year. I think the Vrabel hire, they've recruited well. They've made some good signings. That you can see it there. Like, you can see the promise for Patriots, but the Seahawks were just absolutely ruthless. They suffocated him, absolutely suffocated him. There's one play, I made a note of it that just really stood out to me, about, not above all, but there was, I think his name's Mills. He's on the Hawks D line, isn't he? And I can't remember who it was. It was the tackle or the guard, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was for the Patriots. But he sacked Drake May, whilst the offensive line player was actually in between the two of them. He just
Will
absolutely
Campbell.
bullied him. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Oh no, it might not have been, you know. It might not have been. It was Campbell or it was Wilson. Research Cal's there. Thank you. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was absolutely Wilson. We'll come to Campbell in a moment, but he just absolutely bullied him right into Drake May, and he literally just wrapped both of them up and sacked May. Yeah. It was, and that play was just like the definition. I mean, Research Cal's popped in a stat here that apparently they only blitzed 15% of the time, which
is balmy.
Is absolutely nuts because of the absolute hammering that Drake May took.
Yeah, like I predicted in the Super Bowl preview pod that we did last week, and if you haven't listened to that, guys, go check it out. It's on his YouTube and all the Spotify's and things. But I predicted on that one that I think the Seahawks will bottle it under the pressure, and the Patriots organization. I know they've got not a younger squad, but they've got newer faces coming into this. They have that experience as an organization going in. When in hindsight, it was the complete opposite way around. Like, again, I will go back to the scheduling thing that we've had throughout the year, but at the same time, on the balance that we've played them tough defenses. So his offensive line have come up against some tough defenses. You know, Drake May's come up against some tough pressures and some tough defenses to read and to the coverage. But I genuinely think from the moment they went out on that field, it was like they'd never played with each other before. No pun intended. But it was like they'd never done anything on that field in terms of anything. It just looked lackluster. Like, you know, I've seen reports and people making not an excuse as such, but for Will Campbell, he tore his ACL or his MCL at some point throughout the year. He's come back, he's done well. But if you weren't 100%, don't put him on the field. I understand he's been great, but they capitalised on a weak part of on the weak area of that line, and from halfway through the first quarter, they didn't let up. They just hammered that left side of our offensive line, and it worked, and it got through to Drake May. It got into Drake May's head. He every time the ball was snapping, it looked like it was going to be a pass. He just felt like he couldn't stay in that pocket. As a neutral fan, if it's your first time ever watching a Super Bowl, that was the most boring 3 quarters of a Super Bowl. From a football point of view, from a skill set point of view, that defense was just textbook. Like, we're sat in the pub, bro, and there's like me and Jono, our friend Jono is a Patriots fan, against the entire pub, right? And it gets to like the second quarter, and every play we just glancing at each other like, it's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a long night. Now, look, I agree with what you're saying. We're ahead of schedule, right? I'm not going to kind of scream about how I'd have been happy if we'd have gone out the game before the AFC Championship. Like, as I say happy, I'd have been proud because of how far we've come compared to the season before. Getting to the Super Bowl is fantastic. Do we set as expectations that high next year? I still don't think we do. I still think we look at stuff. It all depends on how free agency goes and how we recruit in that free agency, because, you know, coming up against a team like Seattle, who did come out all good blazing, and I stand by the fact that I put any team in front of them in that Super Bowl and the same result happens with that defense anyway. I just think, like, I think we've got to try and compete with the best, and we've got a reactive free agency. Now, I'm going to flip it round here, and look, the Patriots D played well. I think both defenses played phenomenal. The Seattle one was far better because they stopped us getting within any sort of field goal range, where the Patriots D didn't. There were no scores for the first 3 quarters, I believe it was, or 2.5, 3, up at tight end, little scissor route through. But like,
I think it was 0 until the 4th quarter, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, and but I don't think. I think the Patriots D shut down the offense, the Seattle's offense, better than I expected to do. Christian Gonzalez saved 2 touchdowns. There should have been 2 touchdowns up. He is, and there's a still shot of him diving and like stopping the ball, right? And it is absolutely. There's no, if you're a DB or if you're going to play cornerback, that's the kind of play you want to be making in the biggest stage when everything's going against you and you're still making plays like that. I do think the D did well. That's my positive.
It was like, I mean, I made a note of the Gonzalez, those two stops. Like the first one was against JSM, wasn't it, on a deep ball? And if he literally like leaped and managed to just bat that down, it was absolutely. I'm not saying it's textbook because it wasn't textbook.
No.
That was like an unreal play. And then he did it again right in the end zone at the end of the second. I think it was just before half time. I can't remember who the target was, but he just got in there where it looked like for sure a touchdown. And he did have a great game. And I agree with you. Like, I think Patriots D did have a good game. Like, if you look at the games of the Rams, a lot of them have been not shootouts as such, but high scoring. Like, I mean, I said Rams, didn't I? The games with the Seahawks, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Seahawks games, a lot of them are really high scoring from their offense. And then the game against the Rams, hence the mistake there, that was a bit of a shootout between the two. Whereas, I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on it more with the special teams, but they held the Seahawks back a fair while. I think the real difference between the two, it was that your defense, you can't win a game just with defense, can you?
No.
It's got to be a complete package, and I think that's what the Seahawks had. And although, no, they didn't score touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, they had players, Darnold included, he had some real clutch plays, which were almost like a like-for-like replica of what Drake May was facing. And May was getting sacked, or he was throwing incomplete passes, or trying to get out and just was nowhere near. Whereas Darnold, like, there was a few plays where he just stood there and he delivered a ball and then got hit by 2 or 3 players, or he just made a little step and stepped then up into the pocket and delivered a rifle to somebody. There was a good few of them at Darnold, and it's almost like that role reverse. He's got that famous thing, as in a Darnold, of that game against Patriots of seeing ghosts, and it was almost like it was Drake May's turn to see ghosts, and Darnold's kind of there, just like, haha, like I've been there. And but I think generally, Pats D did play well. Gonzalez was a standout for the Pats, definitely. If you could have there's no rule, is there, that it's the winner or the loser that gets the MVP? But if you could have a losing team MVP, I would probably give it to Gonzalez.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a really weird game.
I think I agree with you the most of that. I don't believe they were the full package in the first half. I think special teams and defensive wise in that first half they were, but the full package started the third quarter midway through. Now I'm talking this next bit here. I'm talking kind of taking stats away from it. From a fan watching the game, as a Patriots fan watching the game in particular, it's probably one of the worst games that I've seen Drake May play in terms of it seemed that every single decision he made was the wrong one. And then it got to a point, and again, taking stats completely out of this, it got to the point where it felt like he was trying too hard to overcome the mistakes and then making more. And it just didn't look like the Drake May that we were used to this year. They've not had a great pro season. They haven't. It's been no secret on that. And they've had some things against them on this pro season, but at the same time they haven't had the best pro season. I just think the pressure's just got, and it's finally hitting more. Hopefully, this is going to go one of 2 ways for the Patriots. It's going to be the biggest turning point where they're going to mature over the off season massively. They're going to walk out with this and go, right, we can't cup like this again. Like, we got there, we got embarrassed, we got dominated, we got annihilated. We are go to work right now. We recruit, we come back, we hit harder, we win. Or it gets to them and it eats them away, and then every game, every decision is the wrong decision. Look, games happen. One of the things that we say as coaches when we got our players and stuff don't go our way, one of our things we say is, it's the last play. Get on there, it's a fresh down. Go back out there, it's a fresh down. Now I understand there's a little bit of a difference between Div 2 football and the NFL. I can kind of get that. But at the same time, the principle's still there with he needs to now be managed and coached by the offense and by the Patriots and the organisation, him and that offensive line, especially that left side, that rookie side, to go back out and be like, look, shit's happened. We can't change that now. Now you got to make shit right.
I think there was just times, wasn't there, though, like where you'd see him on the sideline, Drake May, you'd see him on the sideline, and he just looked lost.
Yeah.
It was almost as though he could see the game was done. And I think most people, and I know you can never count it out, can you? Because like we've had some amazing comebacks in the NFL, and that's why we love the sport. But you could see from the get-go, from the first few drives, even though the score didn't reflect it, I think the first 3, 4, 5 drives, it was like, yeah, this game's going to go exactly as everyone predicted. Seahawks are going to destroy them, and that's going to be that. And you then wonder how much of that, as well as the coaching team have done. Like, you know, we've sat here and sang Vrabel's praises. Josh McDaniels obviously is done really well with Drake May, and I think he's made some really. It's not the same offense that he ran with Tom Brady. It's a different offense. No. He's playing to Drake May's strengths. You know, he's letting him scramble because he's a good scrambler. I think I heard a stat today, or saw a stat that in fact, it might have been one of the commentators actually, who said he's technically, statistically, the best scrambler in the NFL this year. Stats only tell you half a story, don't they? But like, they've made a scheme around the players they've got, but it just felt like today they just didn't. Not today, sorry. The Super Bowl, they didn't make those adjustments. They didn't change what they needed to change, whereas the Seahawks absolutely neutralized the passing game of the Pats, and that's what they've had, and they absolutely smashed the life out of them. I think New England almost dealt their cards off the get-go. You know, the D were trying to make the big plays from the offset, but it was almost showing the Seahawks how they were trying to make those big plays, and I think that was almost out of an acceptance. It felt like the Pats went out there knowing the Seahawks were the better team and knowing they were going to probably win, you know, if we're being real about it. And they tried making those big plays from the get-go, and it kind of almost dealt the cards off play one, if you like. Whereas with the Seahawks, you kind of saw that composure and the forward planning. Like, I think the first touchdown for the Seahawks, I saw the highlights of it yesterday. I didn't notice it at the time, I won't lie, but the first touchdown of the Seahawks was an exact replica of the very first play of the game. It was like a stretch play, an outside zone play to Walker. And they ran it a few times, just either side. And then the touchdown was the same stretch play, but play action. And then the tight end was just a free release into the corner. And it was just beautiful. And it's like, were they planning for play one? It was beautiful.
Yeah. Perfectly executed. Scissor route, like I said, like a post in the corner with tight end seaming up middle of him, and it was lovely to see. But on the back of the Seattle defense side of things there, and where the Seattle from a fan's point of view from this, where they kind of stopped us more than anything else was, I don't think that the coverage wasn't there throughout the entire. If you look at the camera behind the back of Drake May, there were receivers open a lot of the time, but they just bull rushed, and even though they didn't send blitzers, they manhandled. And again, I know I keep referring back to a lot of Div 2, like a lot of Brit ball, should I say, and the kind of similarities and the stuff that myself and Brad have got with Brit ball as such. But if you ever go down to training and one of the coaches says, "Oh, you'd be great on offense or defensive line," a lot of people take that as like, "What, you just calling me fat?" It's the most important position on the field, and that game there shows, because the strength on that D line to get through the offensive line every single play. The fourth quarter, that Seattle D line looked as fresh as they did in the first quarter, and that's how they won the Super Bowl. I just can't. It pains me that I'm boasting and bigging up a team that destroyed the team that I love so much, but it happened. And
full disclaimer, I'm not calling anyone on the offensive or defensive line fat. Those words come out of Zach's mouth. Just clarifying that one.
No, but it's a lot of you know what I'm saying. A lot of people, when you come down, you tell them you'd be great on offensive line, and they just look at American football and offensive linemen as the stereotypical guys when they don't realize how difficult a position that is.
It's the trenches, isn't it? They're like they are the unsung heroes. Absolutely. Like, our offensive line, like we've seen it, haven't we, in training? We've seen it. We're talking Div 2. We've seen it in training. We've seen it on games. Like when you've got your offensive line ticking, you open up so many avenues. You can't win a game just passing the ball. You can't, because then the defense will just play to the pass, and you can't win a game just running if you've got no O-line. Like, it's vital. So the counter to that obviously is the D-line, and I think you absolutely saw that from the Hawks, didn't you? Like, there's a stat I've had written down here which is nuts. Like, so Will Campbell, left tackle, he had the NFL worst 14 pressures in the Super Bowl. 14.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
That's
they found a weak spot.
Nuts.
They found a weak spot and that they attacked it. Now, talking about the D again, about that Seattle D, and another swerve ball to brick ball here. The Seattle Seahawks coaching staff, right? Who coaches the defense? Where's he from? Who did he coach? I'll tell you who he used to coach. The London Warriors. And so this is now a staple of how that bridge has now been kind of built, because there's a player pathway program for international kids from like that aren't American, basically, to try and get into the NFL. We've never really seen the coaching staff get in there. Now an ex Brit ball coach, a British guy, has won the Super Bowl. Now, if that don't inspire people that you just because you're in this country you can't get, that is phenomenal. Like,
you know what, this really annoyed me last week, because like, I'll give researcher Cal his credit when he deserves it. He actually dropped this into our sort of pre-show chats that we have, and he actually mentioned this last week, and I'll be honest, I was completely oblivious to it, and I know you'd not mentioned it, Zach, either, whether you're aware or not, but Callum dropped that in, and at the time of filming and recording the pod, it just completely passed me by and completely forgot to bring it up at all. And then I've seen nothing but from like NFL UK and all the British sort of media outlets and stuff, and the US, to be fair, it was all on the Super Bowl coverage, wasn't it? Like, bigging him up, and they shared his success, and it's mint. I'm glad they have, because like, he deserves it, doesn't he? Like,
100%.
From a London Brit ball team, and London Warriors have been dominant over the years, like absolutely dominant. Obviously, we've had another few teams sort of rise to their sort of level over the last 5+ years, but it's been London Warriors for a long time, and like it was just all over. And credit where it's due, Cal, researcher Cal, you've done your research and your knowledge there. I was kicking myself after, like, God, we didn't speak about it. But to bring it to your point, like it's absolutely massive, isn't it? It's huge for the British game, and there's some phenomenal coaches over here, and some phenomenal players over here as well, and for the fact that they're getting that recognition is massive. And I think it's great. What I was thinking about after is, could this guy, and it's a tough one because the position is in, but do you think he'd ever get a head coaching like opportunity? Because his name's gone massive now, hasn't it? But he's kind of under McDonald's shadow a little bit. It's kind of thank you. Sorry, research guys, just interjecting. So he had interviews at Cleveland, so I wasn't aware of that. So, maybe he will, and maybe he'll be the first British head coach.
You say
he's under the shadow, isn't he? But
you say he's under the shadow at the moment, and I get what you're saying. But look at the Seahawks now. Ex-offensive coordinator. He's, Mike McDonald's got the big, got the main news over the season regarding how well the Seahawks have done. But you've got Clint Kubiak, who's just now officially announced that he's moving he's going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So, just which baffles me, because he's now going from a Super Bowl winning team to the Raiders. I get he's for a head coaching role, but it just shows you why, anybody, that Seattle's gone from being a nobody team to being what they are in the space of a year, pretty much, because of the hires that they made and the two coaches that were there. I think the spot. I think it doesn't put him in the shadows anymore. I think it kind of puts a spotlight on him a little bit more for them defensive-minded organizations that need a team for people like him. And Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, the danger is that it's kind of like I think the most famous in recent years situation that is probably in. It's like the Bieniemy and Andy Reid sort of thing, isn't it? Like you've got an OC who's solid, is liked by the players. He obviously does a lot of good work behind the scenes, but you know it's Andy Reid's offense, and that's kind of what you've got the Seahawks. I think the Kubiak hire is it's almost a replica, but with a bit more grandeur now, isn't it? Of the Ben Johnson hire, you've got like the latest hot name, the hot property, going with what you're going to assume is going to be Mendoza. The first overall pick of for the Raiders. Sorry, Raiders have the first overall pick. You would assume that's going to be Mendoza at quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be.
So what you're probably hoping there, and I think we touched on this last week, is that it's going to be the Ben Johnson, Chicago Bears sort of year where actually another team that probably not overachieved, but achieved ahead of expectations. I think everyone saw that leap with Ben Johnson and Caleb, but probably got further than they expected, and maybe Raiders are hoping for the same sort of outcome. But a big job for Kubiak, and probably well deserved, really.
Do you not find it a bit strange that he sort of announced it like at the post game at the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I liked it because he was asked, wasn't he? He was asked. It wasn't like he was just like, "Hey, guess what?" So I can't quote it exactly, but they basically asked, like, "Are you happy about the win?" Because rumors have got it that you're potentially going somewhere else, and he's like, "Yeah, I can confirm it." Basically, And I think what I hate about the NFL is all the sort of hidden incognito coach speak when it's clear as day.
Yeah,
like it's obvious, it's clear. There's so many leaks in the sport. There's so many sources. Callum's got
Rugby League's the same as that though.
Huge, like Callum's got about 65,000 people who don't speak to him and one source. But no, it's like these sources have got the links that they speak to in the media, and it's obvious he's going there. So actually, I quite like it that he was like, you know what, yeah, I am going, and I love this team, and I love what we've achieved together, and I am going. But I also hope to see him at Super Bowl next year, against the Raiders. Obviously, highly doubtful, but who knows?
You never know.
I don't think it's weird. I quite like it.
So that well done to them. Obviously, good luck to Clinton in his future, and bravo to I can never remember the guy's name from the London Warriors, but bravo to him for bridging that gap from brick ball to the NFL. Aiden Durd. Yeah, my bad on that one. Thank you, RC, on that. But moving back to the game now, I want to talk MVP with you a little bit here, because I think somebody got robbed of the MVP from the Super Bowl, and this is genuine. I think Jason Myers should have got the MVP, because for the majority of the game, he was the one that kept his composure. And like, Carl, I know you've got down there, you've got the stats on the screen right now. The longest were 41 yards, but I'm pretty sure out of the 5 that he made, 4 of them were 33 plus yards, 35 plus yards. And the composure to know with how that game's going, you see how that game's going. That first kick's the hardest kick because you've got to get the points on the board. But every single time you go on that field, you've seen that your offense is not moving, their offense is not moving. You're the one that's keeping this in. And the commentator said throughout the game, like, if this field goal goes over now, I think you ought to make it, 12 or I think if we make it 12, is that the game's going to be over because the Patriots will not be able to kind of keep up with just this, like, chipping away, going for it. And I know it's a bit of a kicker getting the MVP, but and this is when we brought back to the MVP, the NFL MVP. He was the most valuable player on that team throughout the majority and for the longest part of that game, in my opinion. Like, because you can't give it to the full defense, so like, he was. What's your view on the MVP side of things for this, though?
I'm torn because I completely agree to a point. He kicked 5 out of 5. 2 points converge, 2 XP, point conversions after a touchdown, and so 17 points in total. But even without those 2 touchdowns, he'd have been on 15 points, which outscores the Patriots. So they'd have still won. You know, he alone outscored the Patriots. But I think it does come down to that complete game that I talked about earlier. Like Kenneth Walker, he didn't have the headline stats in terms of the touchdowns and things like that, but he had a game, mate. He did. He had some big runs, and he's so composed behind the O-line. He's so slow behind the line. I don't mean slow as in... Yeah, he is, isn't he? Like, he's just steady, and then that explosion out of the gates when he sees that gap, and it's what we try and coach ourselves, don't we, with the running backs, is like, slow, and then you see the gap and you hit it, put it in simple terms. And you don't always see that because not everyone has the skill set to do that. They don't have that like explosion out of the gates, that one step and bang, you are gone, that acceleration. And he's just so... I've said the word about a million times now, but he is so explosive as a player.
You're right. I saw the video.
He put Myers and he put them into that position.
Yeah, and I'm not angry about the fact that he got it because he played unreal, and I think that game, like you say, he outscored the Patriots alone, and that for me is what kept him in. But going back to Kenneth Walker, I saw the video circulate on X, and it was Le'Veon Bell and Kenneth Walker doing the exact same run where they hold back, they wait for the gap to open, and boom, they're straight through it. And it's textbook slow to the hole and fast through it. Like it is textbook running back. And we go back to what we talk about with the Seahawks. You say the complete package. In that fourth quarter, I agree with you fully, and that's in the most of that third quarter, I agree with you fully. But they showed aspects of perfection everywhere on the field. RC just coming with another great stat here. Speaking of like the international game and bridging that gap over, it's a big old bridges this like, but the punter Michael Dixon, Australian guy, punts inside the 10, punts inside the 10-yard line, 2 inside the 5-yard line. He's Australian coming in to do this as well. So you've got the aspects of the game. I'm going to beat the special teams drum once again, that are winning the games for him. They're pinning the Patriots back. So the Patriots couldn't do anything if they were on the Seahawks 1-yard line. Like, never mind their own 1-yard line. They're pinning them back to there, and they're moving upfield. They're scoring field goals. They're moving. They're running the ball well. The defense is unstoppable. Like, JSN went out of the game for... I mean, he did go in the blue tent, but I can't really remember JSN making any sort of impact on the game when they were in the game and when they were out of the game. He was locked down, so then they changed and they looked around and they adapted, where the Patriots didn't. They adapted to, okay, well, if you're going to quadruple team JSN and make our number one target not available, we'll just give the ball 27 times to Kenneth Walker for him to run and grind the yards, and then when we get within scoring range, I'll chip shot a field goal over because I know you're not going to score against us. And it was that package, it was that complete and well deserved. Like it was well deserved. Carl just coming there with the actual stats. One field goal out of them 4 was under 30 yards. So they're not tough. They're not easy kicks to make, especially with the pressure of what it was. I mean, I imagine they got easier and easier as the game got on, but like, especially them first couple. But yeah, I mean, all in all, one of them games, just the better team won, and we ride on now and see how our off season goes. Really,
I think for Pats, it's that, like we said, they're a year ahead, aren't they?
Yeah,
and I think for them next year, and I'm not trying to bring up the schedule here as like a dig. I'm more looking ahead. That's the thing that's been hanging over the head. I know I've hammered it, so I've intentionally not mentioned it today, I'll be honest, but I'm only bringing it up now because I think for the Pats, it's what happens next year, because they're in a position now where they reach the Super Bowl. They've got gaps. They have got holes on the team they need to fill. They need to recruit well. They need to draft well. I think they've drafted well and recruited well this year, but they're a young team. And they need to continue that. So they've got an advantage there where people are probably more likely to sign with them because of the success they've had. But they've had, as we know, the easiest schedule this year. But next year they've got well, we don't know what schedule they've got, but they've got a first place schedule, haven't they? Because of the way the scheduling works. So for those that aren't avid NFL fans, and the schedule is probably one of the more complex parts of the game. Yeah. Because they finished first, they will now play first placed teams from the other divisions. So they'll play their own division twice. They'll play a division from the NFC, but then they'll also play the first place teams from other divisions. So that's kind of what makes up their schedule. But we know in the NFL teams change year on year. And I think one thing that might play in the Pats' favour this year is that the NFL was just all over the place this year. It's been a really good year actually for the NFL. Like as a neutral,
should be good.
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been a really good season. It's a shame about the Super Bowl, I'll be honest. But I think if you look at the last 5-10 years, more probably, how many Super Bowls are the best game of the season? It's very rare.
They're overhyped.
Your championship weekend and your divisional weekend that are the better games, don't you? I joked about it last week. It was the Rams Seahawks. That was one of the better games this year. That was the Super Bowl. But I think for the Pats, it's recruit well and try and maintain this sort of
a lot of cap space.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it for sure. And they've got a really winnable division. Dolphins and Jets are shambles constantly. Bills are obviously the team to beat in the division with Josh Allen, but they've just done it. So go out and do it again.
That's it.
Seahawks, it'll just be interesting to see what happens next with Darnold and the squad, really, because he's shown he can do it now, hasn't he?
Yeah. Let's go see if we can do it back to back.
You know what?
We've got
just before we do sort of move on to anything, we've not really spoke about Darnold, have we? I've just realised we haven't.
I don't think Darnold had the best game of his career. I genuinely, and I think he played all right. And I think the rest of his team just played better, as daft as that sounds.
I agree to a point. I don't think it was his best game this year, but I think I did mention him earlier in terms of he had moments where he was able to step and evade and he was just composed. But I mean, we can't do a Super Bowl review without acknowledging, and we've touched on it in previous pods, but we can't not acknowledge the fact that he's gone from the Jets seeing ghosts, and then he's been on, 5 teams he's been on. And, last year he had the year he had with the Vikings where really, let's be honest, they should have kept him, but they didn't because of JJ, Jesus.
9.
And, oh God, yeah. But he's gone to the Seahawks and he's had an absolutely fantastic year, and you've just, he's never going to listen to this,
Bravo.
but fair play, mate. Well done.
Bravo.
Well done. Unbelievable.
If you're listening to this, by the way, guys, and not watching it, you want to see some of the stats from the Super Bowl, we've got them on screen now. Go check out his YouTube channel, or on Spotify, we have got a video available there. All of the pods that we record have got a video to go with them, with all the stats on screen, so it's a bit easier to follow if we are talking a lot of numbers. That's just on YouTube, All Balls No Filter Podcast, and everywhere else is at ABNF Pod. You can see all the stats there. You mentioned that this weren't a great Super Bowl in terms of excitement, and just Super Bowls normally aren't. I knew this was going to be one of these type of Super Bowls as soon as the halftime show was announced. Let's talk Bad Bunny, because quite honestly, I've never wanted to put EastEnders on as much in my life as when that halftime show came on. I think it was a mistake. I didn't dig it. I didn't dig the halftime show. I'm just going to put that out there. What were your view on the halftime show? Did you listen to it more than anything else?
I did. Yeah, I did. And just because of my full-time job, which we won't go into, I have rewatched it a couple of times. And I'm so torn with it. It's... I didn't like it. I didn't like it personally. I didn't. And I've not really loved loads of the last decade, particularly not the last 5 years. I think,
Kendrick was all right last year. It was all
It was
right.
all right. It was all right. I mean, Shakira and J-Lo was absolutely the best recent one. I don't know why.
Why would you say that, eh? I wonder. But I think Jay-Z's dropped a ball. I think he's trying to. He's too hip hoppy. It was always going to be too hip hoppy when it was Snoop Dogg and Eminem and all that. But that was a decent one when that were a few years back now, wasn't it? When
that
they
was
came
a good
out.
one. That was a good one of the better ones, to be fair.
Because that was nostalgia, and then now it's going down the line of the Kendrick one. Jay-Z has to realize that the Super Bowl's not just watched by 16-year-old kids, and when you have the bands on, then like they had Green Day opening, right? About doing the opening. For me, Green Day had done a far better halftime show, but that's just personal preference in music choice. I don't want to see. I want to be able to. I want to be. I'm normally steaming by halftime, right? Super Bowl's my World Cup. I'm normally steaming by halftime. I want to be jiving away, singing along and dancing along to the songs that are getting played at halftime and having a good old laugh and being like, wow, this is like when Michael Jackson did it back in the day. It was a spectacle to watch and to be a part of, like, wow, this is amazing. And I remember looking up at the screen and just seeing loads of bushes walking onto the field. I'm like, what am I watching here? They estimated 120 million people watch this, right? Some people are actually going as far as 135. Now, look, I'm not. There's a lot of grey area with this, and a lot of people people aren't liking it for certain reasons because of things that are going on within the USA at this moment in time. That's got nothing to do with me. That's got nothing to do with any of my views. I just thought it was shit. That's that for me.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. I do think Gaga was mint. I thought she was brilliant in her little cameo. I mean, Gaga's phenomenal. She is an absolute artist, whether you're into her or not. She's a songwriter. She can perform. She can absolutely wail a tune, can't she? She's brilliant. But I think what you're going on to in terms of you want to be able to get into it. I completely agree. I made a joke about Shakira and J-Lo, and for obvious reasons. I remember that we were at a Super Bowl party together, and the absolute whole venue went nuts when Shakira did a little tongue waggle to the mic. But you're right though; those songs, both of their songs, they're ones that you just want to jive to and you get behind and stuff.
Yeah.
I even thought the Weeknd was good. Was he 20? I mean, what was he? 2021?
It was when
it was COVID, wasn't it? It was the COVID one.
2021. Yeah.
I thought the Weeknd was good, and considering there's no real option there or limited options because of the situation. Bruno Mars was phenomenal back in the sort of early teens. There's just been some absolutely outstanding performers, but I think you're right. I think since Jay-Z and Apple Music officially have got involved, it's been very Jay-Z. And you can kind of tell. And and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you've got to go with the mainstream. When you're talking about some of the big performances, if we were to talk about the big halftime performances, a lot of them are back when, music's evolved, hasn't it? It continues to evolve. But I think this one was just it wasn't great. I think it was probably too political. I think, it was
last
it the
2
only
years I've been
one
there.
that's been. It wasn't entirely Spanish, was it? But the vast majority was Spanish. Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, I believe. So, and there's the whole thing with Trump, which we won't get into. I know enough about it, but I don't pretend to fully know the ins and outs of it. But
no,
I know there was almost an anti, and there are year on year. To be fair, there's alternative halftime shows on, and I know Trump's quite publicly said, he's not interested in the NFL, the Super Bowl this year because Bad Bunny's performing. And I almost think the whole full Spanish set was almost a response to that, personally. But, we won't get into
I don't like that.
But I think that as much as I like it, I love languages, I'm a Duolingerer trying to develop my Spanish myself. But, I almost feel like that alienated a lot of people as well.
But
maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'm not going to get. I'm not sort of getting into the politics behind it, but it's just one of those, really.
No, like speaking from the language point of view, I just want to kind of jam with it and jive with it and have some fun with it. And they say the political side of things, again, not touching into this, but last year the whole Kendrick Drake beef, that was the forefront of the Kendrick Lamar performance. And I just feel like again, from a personal choice, there's bigger and better artists out there. You could have put any of the top 5 country artists that music genre has always been big in America, obviously, but it's taken over the world at this moment. It's probably the most popular music genre at this moment in time. Would have done a better show than what's going on there. Now, look, I understand that that's a biased choice from someone like myself who likes that type of music, but at the same time, I like hip hop, I like rap music, but and I was one of the only people last year in the pub when we had our Super Bowl party that actually really enjoyed Kendrick's, because I enjoy Kendrick Lamar's music, but I don't think Kendrick Lamar is a Super Bowl halftime performer. I don't. Same as like if you put A$AP Rocky in there, they're great to listen to, but they're just not. They're not. Oh, let's sing along together. You want people to sing along with you. People aren't going to say a lot of the words that are involved in these songs. So, yeah, look, not for me.
There was one cool thing though, Zach. I don't know if you've seen this. I didn't realize at the time, obviously, as you wouldn't. But did you see the bit where there was the wedding happening in like the scenes and stuff?
Yeah.
So, by all accounts, that was actually, and I don't know how real this is or true this is, but by all accounts, it was actually a genuine, real wedding basically taking place. So apparently, and I'm sure this might come out in the wash, I don't know, but apparently this is a real genuine couple who, you hear about couples inviting celebrities to their wedding and then suddenly they like turn up. Apparently they'd invited Bad Bunny to their wedding and they basically got back in touch and said, I'll do you one better. What about you get married at the Super Bowl? And it was like a genuine actual wedding within the production. Now, I don't know what the legalities around that are. I don't know, but I thought that was quite like, the production side of it.
Yeah.
Like, I like the production of the Super Bowl halftime shows, whether I like the music or not. So I'm always quite intrigued by that. Like the dancing trees thing was weird. But like the production was quite cute and they had a lot of celebrities in there, which I'm not asked about, but it was quite interesting to see a few certain names in there. Ricky Martin being a great one for me.
Yeah.
But to have that little wedding appearing in there as well was kind of like, once you hear about the suggested narrative behind it, it's quite cute. But I hope they go for a change next year, but I guess it's just our opinion, our preference, but it was a bit of a weird one.
That's it. But that's the Super Bowl halftime show covered. That's the Super Bowl itself. You got anything you want to say before we move on to other parts of the pod, mate, regarding the Super Bowl?
No, I think it's not one that's going to go down in history in terms of, it's not going to stick in the memory, is it? But they're always a nice spectacle. But yeah, I think it is what it is, and we've probably covered it.
Yeah, happy days. Well, that was Super Bowl 60, and one to forget from a Patriots point of view. We're going to move on now, and we're going to move on to a little bit of a news update from this week. Not much major news that we haven't already covered. We've already covered the Quebec moving to the Las Vegas Raiders story, but there is another story coming from the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons rookie James Pierce Jr. has been arrested in Florida on February 7th after what police have described as a domestic dispute against the WNBA player Rickea Jackson. Now, when will rookies, when will NFL players just learn? Like,
it's so bizarre. Like, it's not even just rookies, is it? Like, there must be something in terms of the money side of things, or the fact that, the thing is, we never know like the full ins and outs of the history and the background of these people that are playing the game.
No.
And I'm sure a lot of them come from actually really sort of, I'm not talking about James Pierce Jr. here. I know nothing about his background. I won't pretend to, but it just feels like the NFL seems to have more people in the sport who are causing carnage, basically.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Get arrested.
driving incidents, murder charges, robbery charges, you name it. And it's not just a recent thing. It's gone on for a long time. But it just seems like the NFL is prevalent with it. And I just don't get it.
There's another one. Research Cal, while we just talk about this, there's another one, right? Do you know what? I don't know why I've not got it down. A player's been shot in the ankle today as well. Or yesterday. Shot in the ankle, and I can't remember for the life of me who it was. And you know, one of them ones that I saw while passing, like, and they get into these positions, and just ask if you could just find that out, find that storyline out for me right quickly. And I'm putting my tinfoil hat on here, and I'm throwing a big conspiracy theory out that I think in 10 to 15 years' time there's going to be 49ers defensive lineman Keon White got shot in the ankle from a dispute that happened when he were out and about. Wild. I think this weren't his fault. I think it was he weren't like with kind of have anything to do with it. He was just in the crossfire. But I think in 10 to 15 years' time, there's going to be a story break that there's been a supplement that NFL players have been taking that's legal, like as in I'm not talking a ped or anything, but like some sort of something that goes into protein shakes or whatever. Because there has to be something. What's the difference between NFL and other sports where you're getting the sheer amount of people making daft... Like, there's money in other sports as well. There's young lads with money in other sports as well. I understand upbringing is probably a major thing, but these coaches that have such a big impact on these kids' lives from day one, you know, should be trying to steer them better. And yes, money is money,
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because, like, if you look at the size of the teams as well. So, like, there's 32 teams. There's 53 players on a squad at any one time, plus practice squad, plus people who've been cut and been waived and all this, that, and the other. Like, when you actually work out the math on that, that's a lot of players. You're talking about 1,500 players plus. So, is there any other sport that has that many players in the league? I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd probably guess at not. Or if there is, probably not as close. Or if there is, not as many with the money that they will be getting. But it's just balmy. It's absolutely balmy. You know, just to sort of, it is. And I mean, look at what's actually happened with James Pierce Jr. So apparently there's been some domestic situation, and the rumours are then it's sort of resulted in a police chase. Pierce's vehicle's been crashed. I've seen rumours on X that he's actually like repeatedly smashed it into Rakeez Jackson's car. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's Twitter, it's X. You hear all sorts, don't you? But apparently he's charged now with, I'm just reading this now, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, aggravated stalking, aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer, fleeing police, and resisting arrest. And apparently a protective order is then also issued requiring him to stay away from Jackson. And it's just nuts because he's had an absolutely stonking year with the Falcons, and he finished third in defensive rookie of the year voting. So he's like, he's got all the potential ahead of him. So what's happened, other than conspiracies with Zach, what's happened to result in him doing this? I mean, I'm sure we won't know, but we just hear of it too often, and it's a bit of a sad part of the sport. Like, you can't
even say drugs though. You can't even say drugs because they get drug tested all the time. Like, you used to have, like, remember, like Josh Gordon, he used to get drug tested all the time and fail them all the time and get suspended all the time. So they get drug tested quite a bit. So what happens and why does it happen? Like that guy, James Pierce Jr. has just said bye-bye to his career. Like, he's just said bye to his career because look at what's happened in the past when people have done silly things in cars. You know, they end up in jail. And the organisations aren't going to stand for that anymore because there's too many people out there that can, you know, they don't want that baggage. They don't want that baggage, right? It's a shame to see. It's sad to see. But, you know, well, it's an
interesting one, though, because the NFL are kind of, they're also a bit backwards with that, though, aren't they? They don't want the baggage, but there's also a lot of teams out there that have been really open to defend players who are quite clearly guilty of things. I know it's innocent before proven guilty.
Yeah.
But it's only when you get the evidence that comes out that they then like, oh, yes, we probably shouldn't stand by this guy. I mean, let's not get too deep into it because we'll be here all night with the dramas and stories of the NFL. But yeah, it's a shame.
An ongoing story that we can catch up on. We can catch up on, and we'll keep you guys informed when we do get to it. But that's the news. It's the main news from the week other than what we've gone through. I don't think we've missed much else. We probably have done. If we have, let us know in the comments. Call us out. What have we missed? Let us know in the comments wherever you listen to this or over on our social medias at ABNF Pod. But Brad, it's now time for one of our favourite segments of the week. It's All Other Balls. Brad, tell us what it's about, will you?
I absolutely will. So, All of the Balls is the segment where we touch other balls. It's the segment where we pick up on other elements of the world of sport. So, the intention when we started this pod was to look at other ball sports, but realistically, we've found out that most of the ball sports aren't that interesting. So, we touch on all of the balls, all of the sports rather. And this week we'll be diving into the Winter Olympics, which have started recently this year in old Italy, I believe. And we'll touch on the world of rugby league, close to our hearts.
Going back to the old rugby league, and got a few honourable mentions afterwards as well. It's not just two this week. We've got a little honourable mention towards the back end of it, but we'll keep you a little tease there. We'll keep you going into it. Winter Olympics. Now, I watch curling once every 4 years, and I get invested in curling once every 4 years to the point where it's the only time I sweep my house once every 4 years when I'm practicing for the next Winter Olympics. What a sport that is, by the way.
You don't sweep your house.
Now, the Winter Olympics, there's one major kind of storyline coming out of this moment in time. We'll touch on the table soon and about how well Great Britain are doing. But there's one major story, and it's about is it a 41-year-old downhill skater?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it the slalom that she does? I'm not too clued up with like. I just like curling and a few of the other bits and bats and like the bobsleigh stuff. But so go on, lead us with this one, Brad.
Yeah, so it's Lindsey Vonn. So she is an American skier, I believe, and she retired in 2019, but came back. I nearly said last year then, but she sort of returned in 2024. Yeah, so she's 41. Really well-known skier. She actually won gold in Vancouver in the 2010 games. And it was really sad and horrible to see. So I'm not skiing myself, but I do snowboard to a point, I guess. So I do get quite, not invested, but I do enjoy a lot of the aspects of Winter Olympics, probably more than I do the Summer Olympics, to be honest. Yeah. But the bit that gets me, so if you've not seen the footage, if you've not heard about it, which I'd be surprised if you haven't, she had a big crash 13 seconds into her race, her stint, if you like. Obviously, they go down one at a time, don't they? She hit a gate and she broke a leg and she was airlifted off the slope. It was quite sad to see.
Yeah.
The thing that got me, this is the weird thing that got me, is that only 9 days before, she'd actually apparently torn her ACL in like a warm-up race, which I can't fathom in my head, because we know obviously this is mostly an NFL pod and we know how devastating ACLs can be. We've witnessed it with friends ourselves with the ACLs. I've had knee injuries in the past myself, and to think of skiing or snowboarding with an ACL tear, I can't actually fathom out how it's doable. So I'm a bit torn with this, because it's a bit it's heartbreaking to see, but I'm almost like, have you got a death wish? What is it?
Yeah. So I ski, I know you snowboard, I ski. I've skied for a long time, and I haven't been for a while. But I know how impactful it can be on your knees in
Do you
particular.
just use like the little blades, them really short ones?
Why would a 6'5" guy do that? Like, what do you mean? Why would a 6? Yeah, it's way too small for me. So I know how impactful it can be on your knees, right? And not calling anybody for false information. I don't understand how she's got on the skis and she's doing downhill in 9 days after tearing her ACL. Don't get it. Like I don't buy it for one. It's sad to see what's happened. I really feel for it. I don't disagree that she's hurt her knee, but an ACL tear and 9 days later she's downhill skiing. I don't know. I'm calling a little bit on that one if I were you. Maybe a bit of a media. Oh, we'll build up the anticipation, the viewership. We can get some traction on this and make this go. I could be wrong, but like 9 days, we could bring any of our friends that have hurt their ACLs and gone in 9 days later. You're going downhill skiing for your country. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a messed up one, that, isn't it? It's yeah. But I mean, you feel for her either way. Like, she's had a success. It's her 5th games, I believe. I don't think it's awful as we start to get older ourselves. Like, you don't think as 41 has been mega old. But I guess for an athlete performing at the peak, it is really, isn't it? Like, not old, but it's hard to maintain your peak at that age. We've seen it in the NFL, but the odds are against you out there. So credit to her for giving it a good whirl, but it just didn't work out. But there's 2 other stories that really sort of caught my eye. The first one. So talking about skiing, there's did you see this report? There was ski jumpers that were apparently injecting their penises before being fitted with their suits. So in essence, like, if you think of like their little bulge poking out of their ski suits, because they're like super tight, aren't they?
It's super
apparently
cold.
They're injecting them, yeah, but like apparently it sort of made them, I guess, swell a little bit. So it created like a smoother or a larger, like, it just improved the surface area. So imagine like a little bulge, and then if it flattens out a bit, or like
what's the injection called? Just asking for a friend.
Researcher Cal will let you know that one. Is well acquainted with those injections. But like, apparently it was just like helping them gain extra distance on the jumpers, which it really, really tickled me.
That's wild.
But I mean, on the topic of penises, I don't know if you saw this, but Jutta Leerdam won gold for Holland in the women's 1,000 meter speed skating, which, 2 reasons I mentioned penises. One, I won't get into, I just want to say, the other is...
Where you going? Where you go with this one?
2 reasons. One, I won't mention, but the other talk of penises is that she's actually the fiance of Jake Paul. So...
Did you see that video?
I did, yeah. I mean, like, unreal athlete.
Yeah. I've watched her lap numerous times, just for research purposes only. Just watched it numerous times, but it pans to Jake Paul, and he's crying, and I say crying in quotation marks, because that is the most Disney acting crying I think I've ever seen in my life. Not a single.
Yeah, but he's good at that, isn't he? Like, it's like his whole career is based on acting. Like, he started on YouTube. He went to boxing, acting.
Started on Disney. Now he was on Disney Channel.
Yeah, of course he was. Yeah.
They both were. Just wild for me. But yeah, Jake Paul gets where Watter can't he? He gets where Watter can't. But the Olympics tables so far, I believe, I'm hoping this is updated correctly. Norway, 6 golds, 1 silver, 4 bronze. Top of the total medal table at this moment in time with 11. So good for them. I can't see Team GB on this list, so they must have 12, and we must have missed them off, right? Oh. We have a bit of a technical issue there. Has Brad left? Brad has been kicked off the podcast. He'll be back in just as here we are. He's coming back. Hello.
You've got the teams that are sort of leading the charge that you'd expect to on the Winter Olympics. You've got, your Norways, your Switzerland's up there, your Austrias, your Germanys, Italy's, those obvious ones that live where you ski. States are up there. But, GB not doing so well. They lost 5-3 to Italy in the bronze medal match in curling, which would have been the first medal. And they missed out narrowly on the women's snowboarding big air final. So Mia Brooks just missing out on the medals there.
Shame.
And then my favourite events, which have only been in, I think, maybe the last 2 Winter Olympics, is the slope style. So the slope style is essentially what you really watch skiing and snowboarding for. It's the big jumps with the cool tricks. That's slope style. And they get points on that. And Christy Muir, I think you pronounce her name, she just missed out on a bronze as well by 0.41 points. Thank you for that research, Cal.
Nice.
But yeah, just shame. Close but no cigar.
Yeah. Apologies for that technical issue we had there as well, guys. It's a bit of a blip. What would a perfect episode be? Yeah, it'd be rubbish, wouldn't it? But yeah, so Winter Olympics covered in a nutshell. I've got a feeling over the next couple of weeks we're gonna keep you informed with this. Hopefully, go Team GB. We can go from there. But yeah, moving on to our next balls. Any other ball? Sorry, this is not balls of the week.
All of the balls.
All the balls. I will get the feature right. Okay. We're taking a trip back down, which we've covered a couple of times, and that is the Rugby League. And this week was the round 3 of the Challenge Cup. Now, on screen, if you are watching, if not, get to know, on screen is a list of the scores from the week just gone. Now, I'm not going to read them all out, but there is a little bit of a running theme with some of these scores that we're going to touch on. And a few whitewashers. St Helens Workington 98-2 to be precise. Hull KR and Loch Lane 104-0. Now look, we spoke about this briefly on Sunday, Brad, when we were just chilling before the Super Bowl, and a lot of these teams on here are local to us, and we know people that play on these teams, for instance, and a lot of these teams are amateur. They don't get paid to play. They just make their way through. But at what point is it not growing the game? 104-0 is not growing the game. What do you reckon to this?
I just think it's one of those sports where there's so many clubs, and I love the Challenge Cup because it's got that potential for the FA Cup fairy tale. But I think the difference is when you're comparing like the FA Cup football to the Challenge Cup Rugby League, is I think on a sport like football, which yes, it's a contact sport, but it's not about complete physical dominance, is it? Like, all right, yes, if you're faster, you're more skillful, all that sort of stuff, absolutely. But on the flip side, with rugby, you've got people who are, it's kind of like American football, isn't it? If you put an NFL team against a brickball team, you're going to get absolutely annihilated because you've got the absolute physical dominance in every single aspect of the game. And that's not to discredit any of the lads who play rugby. I mean, God, I'd get my bones broken within an instant these days.
You've got professionals playing plumbers, is what you've got.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, and that's it's nuts. When you look at...
Go on, sorry.
There's a little technical. You look at like the Hull KR Loch Lane score, right? That's nuts, and that's a close to home one. 104-0. That's the biggest score difference, I think, of the weekend. So I mean, Loch Lane are a complete amateur team, like completely. So you expect a score like that, and you kind of accept it. So is there the potential for the upset there? No, there isn't. You look then more at scores like Widnes and Leeds, 25-12. You look at Doncaster Castleford, 14-0 to Tigers. They are more closely sort of fought teams, if you like, in terms of the standings and things like that. But then you start looking at teams that are Super League, so the top tier, and you look at part-time teams. So you've got Huddersfield Giants, who were at the down in the doldrums of Super League last year, and Hunslet were in the Championship, I believe, 52-6. It's a complete whitewash. So there's been a big review in Rugby League, hasn't there, about sort of suggestions to make the sport better, more exciting, and therefore more viable, and which we know is an issue in Rugby League. It's very much generally a northern sport. And one of the suggestions was to bring Super League teams into the Challenge Cup at the round of 16, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the next round on. And to almost have a bit of a not Millennium Magic, sorry, that's its original name, a Magic Weekend sort of set up for the Challenge Cup, which I think is probably right, because then what you've got, instead of like Hull KR Loch Lane, 104-0, and then Hull FC and Salford RLFC, which I think is the new rebirth of the Salford team, 60-0, or Cast Tigers Doncaster 14-0, those teams are getting hammered. You're actually going to get much more closely fought teams.
Yeah.
And you might end up then with like an exciting team. And for those that do get through, there's probably a big paycheck for those teams as well, because there's less of them. They're playing at a big stage, and I think it's just got loads of potential, but there's just a big issue. And one of the things I've seen quite a lot recently, because there's been loads of talk about Super League and Rugby League this last 6 months to a year because of what's happened to Salford, because of what's happened to Oldham recently going into administration, because of what's happened to Featherstone going into administration, and then recently had announced Halifax have now entered administration. It's really sad. There's a lot of talks about like the NRL model in Australia, that do you just have 10 teams or 12 teams, whatever number you pick, who are the Super League, and they're franchised. So for NFL fans who aren't into Rugby League, you only have your NFL teams. There's no promotion relegation. That's what they're talking about when they're saying franchise. You basically get a license to play in that league. And then what the NRL have under that are like feeder clubs in the Queensland Cup. So like Brisbane, for example, has the Brisbane team in NRL, and they have a Brisbane team in the Queensland Cup, if I'm not mistaken, and they feed into each other. It's almost like a promotion within the team for players, as opposed to a promotion of a team.
But like,
and I'll be honest, I think there's a lot of merit there.
I agree, but could you imagine Fev being approached to feed a team for Cass? It'd never happen.
Well, who is Fev anymore? I mean, who is Fev anymore?
No, I know, but that's
just.
No, but that's just an example into I think the rivalries at the moment within Super League. But it's a dying sport. And it's a shame to see. It's a dying sport. I wanted to touch on something, a positive side from this though. The Loch Lane social media pages and stuff, and some of that I've got one of the players on my Instagram, and they shared a video of the locker room after the 104-0 that they got beat, and the locker room's bouncing. Locker room, they're singing, they're banging on tables. They didn't care. They didn't give two tosses that they just lost 104-0. The experience of them being there, that have come from their day jobs to then going to play at Hull KR against Hull KR, that's top flight to most of these guys who've got families who've play sport for a bit of a laugh on a weekend. And like you say, I agree with take the Super League teams out there, let the smaller clubs, quote unquote, play another round, because that money for a team like Loch Lane, and again going back to Britball for us, for instance, with our team, that money is life changing to clubs. Look at where we used to play when that rugby went sort of semi-professional. They won the division that they got promoted, went semi-professional, got loads of money pumped into it, and it changed the way they could invest within the clubhouse. And that money goes a long way. And I think like Wigan beating Rochdale 83-0, it's not a good look for them. Neither team wants to do it. But yeah. It's all that. Touching on growth of the game though, we've got the World Club Challenge coming up, and that's Brisbane Broncos coming over to the UK this year, playing at the MKM Stadium, and that's Hull FC. And they play at the MKM Stadium is where Hull FC play, sorry, but they're playing Hull KR this year, and that's on the 19th of February, which is, and I like this. I like, because we take it in turns and going over, and it never ends nicely for the British team, I must admit, but it's a nice way to kind of grow that game and to spread the, I don't know, the bringing that exciting team over. You always sell the tickets because they want to see the Australian NRL teams. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to then the growth that you're seeing internationally, isn't it? Because of the Vegas games. You've got Leeds against Hull KR in Vegas on the 28th of Feb, and then you've got two NRL fixtures as well. So I think you've got Canterbury and St George against Newcastle and North Queensland, which I think that's up to this year. Was it just 2 games last year? It might have been 3. I know it's gradually increased over the last few years, but that's been massive. Like, I think that's huge. And there are US teams that play rugby league. I remember like a good few years ago, it ended up dropping on like a league that's happening over there. And there was the push one recently for the Canada team, which obviously didn't quite work out, but there's growth there. And I think the thing that kills me as a Yorkshire mining town lad is that rugby league is one of the most exciting games to watch. It's brilliant. It's fast paced. It's skillful. It's high impact. It's almost what people who like the NFL but dislike the stop start of it. It's almost like, okay, watch rugby league.
Yep.
There's the less of a chess element to it, but it's got all the bits that you like, the big hits, the skill level, the physical dominance side of it, and then the pace is there as well. I love the sport, and it's good to see it expanding and getting out and about. I just hope it's sad, isn't it? I hope it survives. I hope someone can come in and really lead it and take it somewhere and grow it, because it's an absolute world-class sport at its top level. Like, watching the NRL is unreal. Like, they are unreal.
I agree.
But, we'll see.
I agree. Quick honourable mention before we get off of this and into Carl's conundrum. We've got the Man City Liverpool extra time madness. Haaland's 90th penalty, right? Which we saw this just before our Super Bowl party started, and the guy started turning up for it. Was absolutely wild. The keeper comes out, some mess up happens, halfway line, goes for a shot. It's like a bobbled shot. It's rolling down. Haaland's getting chased down. There's Dominic Szoboszlai. I think I pronounced that right. I did try and Google that before the pod. Pulled Haaland back, and then Haaland pulled him back. The ball went in and scored a goal. But then it went to VAR, because the initial pullback on Haaland was deemed a foul. It got disallowed at the goal. Then it went to a penalty. This is like the 90. I mean, I think it was actually written down as the 93rd minute, but I'm sure it was 97 minutes at one point up there when they were still debating what was happening. And Haaland then scores the penalty. It goes wild. I think they end up winning 3-1 or something along. I'm not a massive football lover, but it was that's exciting to watch, and it was just a bit everyone. The pub's going mental to begin with. It's just one of them. But
it was a weird one, wasn't it? Like, it's messy.
That's it. Well, that's the honourable mention, and that is all the balls. We're now going to move on to our final segment of the evening, and that is Carl's conundrum. And Carl's conundrum from last week, mate, was: which player holds the record for the most career rushing yards in Super Bowl games across multiple Super Bowls? So we had a bit of a Super Bowl theme one last week because of the Super Bowl, and the answer to that was Mr. Franco Harris. So if you got that, well done. Thank you for the guys that got in touch and dropped us a message or a comment across the socials and on Spotify and stuff. Thank you very much for that. We're now going to get into next week's Carl's conundrum, something for you to take home and listen to. Take home, think about, and let us know what your answer to this would be. And that would be: which 2 players are tied for the most sacks in a single Super Bowl? So, which 2 players are tied for the most sacks in a single Super Bowl? If you want clarification on this, head over to our socials. We'll post the conundrum up there for you so you can see it. One more time: which 2 players are tied for the most sacks in a single Super Bowl? and we will give you the answer next week on the pod. We're now going into a bit of an off-season plan in terms of what we're going to focus on. If there's something you guys want us to focus on, please let us know in the comments, let us know in the DMs, let us know in the messages. I think we're going to do a bit of a fantasy football pod, a bit of a draft way pod, maybe an ABNF fantasy football league next year. Who knows? Maybe so. But yeah, that's it for today, though. Brad, anything from yourself before we fire off?
No, I just think it's been really good getting this off the ground. So it's weird because we've not been doing it too long, and it almost feels like the end of season 1 almost. Which, I mean, it's not. We're going to keep going weekly, aren't we? But it's been really nice to get off the ground. So those of you that are listening in our early doors, our early pods, like, thank you, and we appreciate the feedback that's coming in. So please do keep sharing. Please follow us on social media and wherever you get your podcasts, ABNF Pod. So yeah, thank you. And we'll keep going weekly, even during the off season. And we'll probably have a bit more of a focus on all the balls at times, because it's all balls, no filter, of course. But yeah, it's been good. It's been really fun. I've enjoyed it getting started with this. So I guess thanks to you, mate. Thanks to Researcher Cal, and thanks to the audience that have been listening. So we'll keep going, and just thank you. And it's been a fun one.
Appreciate you. We'll get the technical difficulties sorted at some point, but they make it fun. But yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Have fun, stay safe, and peace.